Hello again and welcome back for what we all hope will be a successful attempt to get Arianespace Flight 137 carrying Eurasiasat 1 finally off the pad and on its way to orbit injection. Your commentators in English are Sune Abramson, hi Sune, and I'm Simon Hayes. Yves Raymond is handling the French commentary. We are now less than 9 minutes from scheduled liftoff and we have a launch window of 1 hour 44 minutes tonight. Launch parameters all steady on green, and so stay tuned. Suna.
Yes, we had an acceptable wind condition at high and low altitudes that prevented the launch on Monday, 8th January, due to safety reasons. These conditions, the conditions that was a few days ago has changed and are now good.
And now a brief description of tonight's launch mission.
We're flying on an Ariane 44P with 4 solid propellant boosters for the first aerospace launch of 2001. The satellite passenger Eurasiasat 1, also designated Turksat 2A, was built by Alcatel Space Industries for the Monaco-based Eurasiasat company. The spacecraft will be placed today into transfer orbit on its way to a geostationary position at an altitude of 3,600 kilometers. It will serve Europe, Middle East and Asia, with 2 fixed footprints, plus other areas with a steerable beam. The orbit position is 42 degrees east over Somalia.
And we have just barely 7 minutes 30 seconds to go to scheduled liftoff, and it's time for some introductions. Jean-Marc Artaud, Arianespace Mission Director. And alongside him, we shall see in a couple of seconds, Michel Debrenne, the Range Operations Manager, who will give us time checks through to liftoff, and then a flood of information concerning launcher status thereafter. In the Launch Control Center, Daniel Gros, the Launch Operations Manager. And back in Jupiter here, we shall see Pierre Moskva, the head of the CSG, there he is. And to finish up our roundup of leading players in tonight's event, we shall get into the satellite team. Here's Christophe Bardou, the Ariane payload manager. He interfaces with the customer from the time the contract is signed through to orbit injection. And now, Jacques Rossignol, Chief Operating Officer of Arianespace. He heads the Flight Command Cell here in Mission Control.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le début de la séquence synchronisée.
And we come up to the final segment of this countdown.
Top à 0 moins 6 minutes.
We're back where we started, or in fact back where we stopped on Monday evening. We're now inside the synchronized sequence. Control of the launcher has been taken out of the hands of the human operators in the Launch Control Center and switched to 2 powerful ground computers. This handover, in fact, is the only possible solution at this stage, Sina.
Yes, during this final phase of the count, there is such a huge increase in the mass of data to be collected, sorted, processed, and above all checked. And the number of command signals to be generated and transmitted is so great that the situation cannot be handled in any other way, because the time is so short.
And we have a piece of film now which was shot only 6 hours back, which will show the withdrawal of the launch pad gantry, clearing the launcher for obviously liftoff, and before then fueling of the 3rd stage. The gantry protects the launcher, not to mention personnel, and provides access to all levels of final preparation tasks, including, of course, integration of the payload composite in particular.
Yeah, when this work has been completed, it takes in real time not the few seconds you will see in the clip, but a full hour to shift this huge structure, 98 meters high and weighing almost 4,000 tons. And that's only a distance of only 80 meters it's going. And it's then and only then that the 3rd stage fueling can be performed.
And the launch time has now been loaded in the onboard computer. And with the gantry off the launcher, all personnel have long since been withdrawn from the pad. And like the Launch Control Center team huddled over their computer displays, they're waiting and watching like the rest of us. A moment to extend a more personal greeting to all of you watching, listening and waiting, and in particular those in Cannes and the other sites in France, Washington DC and Tokyo, viewers in Ankara, Turkey, and those taking the Space Night TV program in Germany, all internet surfers visiting the website, and of course all guests on the observation sites here in the Guyana Space Center and here in the Jupiter building itself.
Yeah, all other launcher fueling operations were completed yesterday, excepting, of course, the third stage, non-storable cryogenic propellants. We will have another really close-up look at those fueling arms in just a moment.
We're going to zoom in fact, on the cryogenic arms, which are still coupled to the third stage valve plates and provide a stabilizing function for the launcher. Here we go.
The fueling task has been completed, but the arms continue to provide stabilization function after the gantry withdrawal. Two cameras produce this squashed picture of the launcher's third stage effect. We will see this picture again when the arms open 5 seconds before first stage ignition.
And so we approach the end of the first segment of a process which began between 2 and 3 years back when the satellite and launcher manufacture commenced. This phase was validated by the flight readiness review for the launcher before it made its ocean crossing from Europe to French Guiana. This paved the way for the launch campaigns.
Yeah, and the launch vehicle and also the satellite preparation campaign were validated in turn by the overall launch readiness review, opening the way for this countdown now with barely 2 minutes to go.
We're so close, in fact, to the final 10-second voice count that we'd better slip in a reminder for very nearly fluffed latecomers. You're just in time to catch Ariane flight 137, carrying Eurasiasat 1 for our customer of the same name.
The third stage liquid oxygen tank is pressurized.
We have a generous launch window, but chatter is tailing off. Hands are getting just a shade fidgety, and nails a little bit chipped after this long wait.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top à 0 moins 1 minute.
And we're into the last seconds, 60 seconds of the count.
And the launcher is now on onboard power.
Indeed, less than 1 minute. And before we miss the opportunity, to all the spacecraft teams, wherever you are, may Eurasiasat 1 have a smooth ride into orbit and a long and successful career. Take care.
Start of servo motors.
The inertial guidance gyros will be released at -9 seconds. The cryogenic arms open at -5 seconds. First stage ignition is at time T. Then the 4 solid boosters will ignite, the launch table clamps open, and Ariane will lift off.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final.
Launcher armed.
And the final count.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage.
We have ignition. And we have
Décollage.
liftoff.
Tous les paramètres de bord sont normaux. Tous les paramètres sont normaux. Extinction des papes.
We have a clear lift, and now we have burnout of the solid propellant boosters. But these are not jettisoned immediately, sooner.
No, because of range safety reasons, we're keeping the burnt out cases for another few seconds to ensure that they fall outside the Ariane 3 launch area, for Ariane 5 launch area, of course.
And we're just over a minute into mission, and here in Jupiter we can just hear the rumble of Ariane as the launcher is almost over our head. And we've just seen the separation of the 4 boosters, and
donc tous les paramètres sont normaux à bord.
We have a further announcement from the DDO to indicate that all parameters are strictly nominal on board the launcher. 1 minute and 30 seconds into mission.
Yeah, and we're just past Mach 1, so we're above the sound
Ariane
barrier.
is supersonic.
You can also notice the very rapid liftoff in the beginning. These 4 solid booster Ariane 4 is our
Tous les
GTI
paramètres
version.
sont normaux.
A very fast start, yes, almost as quick out of the starting blocks as Ariane 5. And we now have the trajectory display, which will be with us right through to separation and the end of mission. Time to explain, I think, sooner.
Yes, I thought so, Simon. So on the left-hand side, you see the dot going upwards. That is the launch vehicle on the pre-programmed
La
plot.
trajectoire est correcte.
And the trajectory is fully correct. Time has elapsed is 1:43 seconds at the right-hand side. It's the onboard computer number 2, or inertia central number 2, which is giving the information. And we have an altitude of 43 kilometers and a speed of 1.23 kilometers per second.
And that should be compared with our target speed for satellite injection into orbit of 9.7 kilometers per second. And if you haven't brought your slide rule with you, that's 35,000 kilometers per hour.
And that is in only just a bit above 12 minutes. So it's a rapid acceleration.
Indeed. And for any of you who noticed some bits and
Tous les
pieces
paramètres sont normaux à bord.
falling off the launcher as Ariane cleared the tower, that was simply thermal cladding of the second stage, which is jettisoned like everything else when it is superfluous to reduce mass.
Extinction L220.
And we have extinction burnout of the first stage.
Séparation 1-2.
Separation
et
first and
allumage
second
du deuxième
stage,
étage.
and ignition of the second stage, and we shall have a computer replay there. We have it. And the next event, climbing up the trajectory curve, is the separation of the fairing, which protects the payload through the denser layers of the atmosphere, and like I said earlier, is released and jettisoned as soon as it is no longer functional, and so much more surplus mass is discarded.
Largage de la coiffe.
And there goes the fairing.
And on a clear night, which is not tonight, it was a bit cloudy when we lifted off, you can actually see the fairing separation as well. And that's basically as far as you can see the launch vehicle in trajectory.
Yes, stage 2-3 separation is very exceptional with the naked eye, except sometimes by day. And
Tous les
we
paramètres
have
bord sont normaux.
a further announcement from the DDO that everything is strictly nominal on board, and so it should be after this long wait, I must add. In a moment or two we'll tell you how he gets this information. In fact, I think we have a slight pause here. Let's get the message across.
Yeah, there is a number of parameters, about 200 on the launch vehicle totally, which are coming down to ground stations. But 50 of them are selected for quick lock data, and those are being sent to a station here outside Kourou and transmitted to the DDO in real time.
Extinction L33.
And we have burnout of the second stage,
Séparation 2-3.
separation 2 and 3,
Et allumage du H10.
and the big one, ignition of the cryogenic third stage engine, which burns liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen at very
Tous
low
les paramètres
temperatures.
à bord sont normaux.
And a process has been going on ever since liftoff to chill down the circuitry and valves feeding the stage 3 engine.
Yeah, what you're doing actually is opening the valves, letting the liquid oxygen and the liquid hydrogen flow down through the total system to get it down to the right temperature, in particular for the turbo pumps for the motors that needs to have cool temperatures, and using also the liquid oxygen and hydrogen as lubricants.
And any moment now we should have...
Donc, régime établi pour la trajectoire et la propulsion.
We should have acquisition of the first external downrange station at Natal in Brazil. And we shall have an
acquisition par la station de Natal.
There we are, and we are still in contact from the local stations in Kourou and Cayenne, and there is an overlap, a fairly long overlap in this case. Well, I think soon it's time to come back to our customer, Eurasiasat SAM. This is a joint venture partnership between Alcatel Space and the end user Turk Telecom. Other examples of manufacturer-operator partnerships involving Alcatel
Tous les paramètres sont normaux à bord.
Europestar, for which the first spacecraft was launched on Ariane on flight 134. This indicates ambitious Alcatel policy and a worldwide trend, perhaps?
Yes, it is. Over the last 5 years, the number of satellite manufacturers and also launch vehicle companies have been reduced due to various mergers and joint ventures. And it's also very common that in particular satellite manufacturers also are either participating with operators or have fleets of satellites.
I'm bringing in a moment, for a moment, Suna, we have coming up in a moment or two a film provided by Alcatel Space and Eurasiasat, describing their activities and their satellite fleet. And we continue to hear from the DDO that everything on board is nominal. Here we go with the film.
Eurasiasat, an international satellite operator formed by Turk Telecom and Alcatel Space, owns a state-of-the-art geostationary satellite, Eurasiasat 1. Eurasiasat 1, realized under prime contractorship of Alcatel Space, is as today the most powerful European satellite.
The satellite will cover whole Europe, Turkey and Asia. With its steerable beams, there will be also coverage on whole Africa and whole the Russia and Indian continent.
Co-located with Turksat 1C at 42 degrees east, Eurasiasat 1 from this location meets the demand, providing coverage in excess of 50 dB watts. Eurasiasat 1 is a versatile satellite and proposes the most advanced telecommunication services.
With the Eurasiasat fleet of satellites, we will give all the digital platform activities, all the direct-to-home applications, internet, televisions.
Reaching out into other worlds.
Thanks to its digital high transmission, Eurasiasat 1 will also provide broad program choice with an unrivaled quality of images and services. Eurasiasat is customer-oriented, offering complete engineering support and one-stop shopping services, allowing global access to the satellite coverage. This is a guarantee of an overall quality.
Eurasiasat is an international satellite operator. It is designed for the customer satisfaction. This is our key feature of the marketing success.
Today with its first satellite, Eurasiasat 1, and tomorrow with its new satellite, Eurasiasat is committed to giving its customers the highest pedigree quality.
Well, Turk Telecom, the Turkish partner in Eurasiasat, is indeed a clear example of the operator turned investor partner. All Turksat spacecraft have been launched on Ariane, and we have seen details of the current Turksat fleet. So how are these spacecraft loaded, Suna?
Yeah, both Turksat 1B and 1C.
Tous les paramètres sont stables.
They have used 100% of their transmission capacity since December of 1996. So a very rapid, the first launch was in 94, a very rapid ramp up of the business. And Turksat 1B, which is at 31.3 degrees east, is used both for traditional telecommunications like telephone
Encore
and
7
data,
minutes de propulsion.
and also for broadcasting services, while Turksat 1C, which is at 42 degrees, is used for direct-to-home broadcast services.
I'd like to cut in just for a second, Suna, to reassure anyone who's wondering why the satellite, or the launcher rather, is in fact losing altitude, and anyone looking at the data column on the right will see this very clearly. And the trajectory plot shows this dip. Now, what's all this about? It's obviously nominal.
It is totally nominal, as you can see from the plot. It's just that the third stage is optimized for its performance. In the beginning, it's got a lot of fuel, so the engine is not accelerating straight up, and we're using actually the gravity of the Earth to help the third stage to gain in speed instead, and giving this curve which we're losing in altitude but gaining much more in speed. And you can see that
Acquisition par la station d'ascension.
And we have acquisition by the Ascension Island Mid-Atlantic downrange tracking station, the first not to provide radar coverage, but acquiring simply the telemetry signals from the launcher itself.
And we're more than halfway over the Atlantic in 800 seconds totally.
And we're also a good 2/3, almost 3/4 of the way to our target velocity of 9.7 kilometers per second. Now, we mentioned the orbit positions of the satellites, and I note that tonight's passenger is going up to join Turksat 1C at 42 degrees east. Does that mean they be close enough to see each other? Do they don't actually hold hands, do
Encore
they?
5 minutes de propulsion.
No, of course they don't have eyes, otherwise they might, if the eyes were sharp, be able to see each other as the sun is reflecting on the solar panels and so on. But satellites, geostationary satellites, which are rotating around the Earth synchronized with the Earth's rotation, stay within, looked from the Earth, in a 70 by 70 times 50 kilometer box. So that's quite a bit of place for something that
Fin de
is about
poursuite par la station de Natal.
25 to 30 meters in its widest position.
Yes, it sounds big, but up at 36,000 kilometers, it's tiny, isn't it?
It's pretty tiny.
Yes.
And so you place these satellites in various positions in this cube. They move around due to the sun and the moon and also the various gravity gradients, which means that you have to correct the orbit from time to time.
And here we have a final nod at our satellite passenger, now getting very close to separation and autonomous life. And perhaps a moment to come back to the subject of the coverage of Eurasiasat 1 or Turksat 2A. I should make it quite clear that this is not a dual launch, it's a single satellite with two names.
Yeah, the Eurasiasat coverage, as it was said in the video clip we heard, is covering from Europe over to Asia. It's a very wide band of customers, and it contains about 100 million Turkish-speaking people. And in addition, it also so it's bridging Europe with Asia in a very strategic position.
Tous les paramètres sont stables et normaux.
And I'll just cut in again, Suna, if you wouldn't mind. You'll have noticed the Galatasaray T-shirt on this gentleman. Now, he's not a football supporter. The T-shirt message is simply that Ariane is providing active support for the Galatasaray Lycée High School and University Technical College in the form of training courses and awards.
Encore
These
2 minutes 30 de
included
propulsion.
an invitation to the two star students of the lycée who were here in Kourou on the first flight 137 trip in December and who unfortunately couldn't see tonight's event.
Not live, but
they'll be watching, I'm sure, in front of a large screen.
I'd also like to add, as we finished off last time, that Eurasiasat is also made for
Donc tous les paramètres sont normaux, encore 2 minutes de propulsion.
Digital TV applications, and it's already filled to 90% with customers.
And we just had confirmation we have under 2 minutes burn time left with stage 3. We've had a very busy year 2000 for Ariane and Ariane Espace, and one feature of that was an extensive gap during which we had no operations due to a shortage of satellite passengers. This is something which has happened already 3 years running and is expected again later this year. What can you comment on that?
Une minute de propulsion.
Sooner, quickly, because we're only 1 minute from...
Mainly because there's a lot of satellites being built. There are more and more standard platforms. The Eurasiasat is one of the European standard platforms. And as a lot of common parts, there are possibilities that if there is a problem with one piece of equipment, is continued over a number of units, which means that a number of satellites will not be ready in time. And that will then get you an accordion activity, like you're sitting in a car queue on the way to Paris in the morning.
Télémesure de Libreville.
And we have the launcher picked up by the Libreville tracking station. And we are within seconds of shutdown of the stage 3 power pack.
Extinction du 3e étage.
Shutdown, and not burnout, shutdown of stage 3.
And you can see that we have the 9.75 kilometers per second.
Indeed. Bang on the nose. So we've got less than a minute and a half now to separation of the passenger.
De visibilité.
We have a slightly garbled announcement from the DDO, but never mind. What is happening now on the stage 3 and the satellite between, as we come up to separation?
The satellite needs a specific orientation at separation. So the third stage is now moving and turning into the right position for the separation of the satellite. And when that is done, which takes this 1.5 minutes to get to the right orientation, it is separated from the launch vehicle by opening a clamp band, and there are springs that are separating the two bodies from each other.
Which just nudge them apart, you might say.
Yep.
We're almost there.
Séparation Eurasiasat.
And we are there.
And Eurasiasat is on its own.
Indeed. Well, there are some happy faces, and they've waited quite a while for this.
And here is Saigun, really happy. He's been waiting for a long time for this. It's been over a month since we started.
That's right, and if we had flags to wave in here sooner, which I wish we had, I'm afraid no one would see us, but not to worry. So, Eurasiasat 1 is now autonomous, and the launcher mission continues with distancing and passivation, but the The satellite, Eurasiasat 1, Turksat 2A, should be picked up by its first ground station in about 4 minutes in Hartebeesthoek in South Africa. Eurasiasat 1 on its way and can close the register on flight 137 after this long and difficult wait. So it's time to ring down the curtain. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. It's been our pleasure to talk you through the event. And as has just been announced, the next launch will be Flight 139 with SICRAL and Skynet, scheduled for 7th February. So why not join us again then? But now it's time to shut up shop here in Mission Control and move on to some quiet celebration. So this is au revoir and good night to you all from the Guyana Space Center in Kourou, from your commentators,
Sule Abrahamsson
and Simon Hayes.